Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
I'm absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much. We have got an amazing guest joining us today. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Paul Kuiper. He's a good friend of mine. I know he's no longer in Orange County. We met in Orange County, and he was in the air conditioning industry then, and we were working to get kids trained and put into kind of that air conditioning world so we can train them. But then he dropped out of that and went off and done something amazing. Where are you now and what are you doing, Paul? Tell our viewers.
Right on. So I moved back closer to where I'm from in West Michigan. And my wife and I have started a small, sustainable farm in Michigan. So we have all sorts of animals. She homeschools. We have cows, pigs, chickens, ducks, turkeys, quail, horses, dogs, cats, the usuals. But you name it, we've got it. We're trying to build that out. We're in year, 1.5 of that. It's been really cold and wintry and snowy. So this has really kind of been our first struggle to find our way through that in that world. But I'm still in heating and air conditioning and working with a company near where I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Connected with them about a year ago and doing some exciting, just kind of build out growth strategy, smaller company. And we're really going full force into the future. We're kind of doing it a different way. So those two things, and that's it. That's busy enough for me right now.
You've been doing a lot. What would you say is one of the driving factors of your success that you've experienced to date?
In thinking about this, as you ask it, one of the driving factors is staying driven for myself and attaching that drive to something that I never thought I would do. I never woke up and said that I wanted to be an HVAC guy or work in a heating and cooling business at all. And so, the driving factors for me have had to be to just drive that day, to just drive that I am here and can give everything that I've got to this right now and do really well with this and be happy within it. And that drives me because there is something else. There is something else right within what I'm already doing. I am living the dream, I am successful, no matter if I'm successful with the way people are viewing me, I get to choose that. And that has driven a lot of the actual success then in this industry, because it's not a popular industry to say you want to be a part of when you're in high school, when you're in those conversations, when they are trying to direct you. So it's actually been a very specific thing to have to stay driven for success in this style of industry. So I make it specific. I'm driving to the people around me to motivate more than just I'm just an HVAC guy.
What does success mean to you? Everybody has different values, a way that they may define success. Culture has a way of defining success. So to you, what does success mean? And what does it feel like to be successful by your own definition?
Yesterday was a perfect example. My son made for me a Valentine's Day card. He finally gave it to me yesterday randomly, but he drew a man in a cape flying through the sky. And then he can't write yet. So he made my wife write the words, hey, Dad, you're so fly. Look, you can fly in the sky. You're amazing. All these positive affirmations. None of what I did today at the office has any influence over whether or not this guy, my son, thinks I'm successful. And so that's really what it means is where I get the success driver from is the positive affirmation of the people around me. So yesterday it was my son, but it could be somebody at the office. It could be part of the team, somebody that I am leading or somebody leading me. That really is where I feel success. So I think that's what it really means to me is I feel successful when somebody tells me that I've had a positive influence on their life.
I love that answer because there are so many definitions of success that are external drivers, right? Mm-hmm. A nice car, a flash house, whatever it is, lots of money. But right. You've just made the success completely internal. So it doesn't matter what goes on out there. It doesn't matter if you're having a really bad day. Internally, you can still feel success because you've influenced that one person. And in this case, it was your son. That is a fantastic answer. I love that answer. So if you could travel back in time, what would you tell your teenage self?
To learn how to not to let the emotion be there, but how to not let it control your day, your experience, your relationship. The largest thing that I have learned that I wish I had as a resource in those days is the ability to shape my mindset. If I woke up feeling great, maybe it would be good. If I woke up feeling bad, I probably had a bad day that got worse and worse and worse. And the ability to really change and format my mindset to a positive outlook and a positive world around me is something that I didn't learn until much later. I dropped out of college. I mean, that's an example. Like, just, I didn't do good, so I gave up, you know, and instead of really being able to reformat, like, this is different, here's why. It was just an emotional thing. I was always good at everything. I wasn't good at that. I got mad, and that was it. And the ability to have some sort of connection to each day. And I've learned that I don't naturally wake up happy. I have to force it. And it's not a bad thing though, because it does take care of itself when I'm in that mindset of forcing myself to gratitude and the positive thinking first thing in the morning and making room for it, and then making time at night to go to bed so that I have time in the morning to do that. It seems so practical, right? But I wish I had that earlier on in my life, and especially in high school, it would have been, you know, a valuable resource for sure.
We have talked about that often with for our teenagers that are watching this. You can actually control your emotions. There is a process that you can use to actually create that cognition of what you're feeling and how to do that. And there is an episode all about that. So thank you for bringing that up. One last question from me. Why do you think it is so important that we actually take time to develop young leaders?
Oh, well, I don't think it's important. I know it's important. Bringing people into an organization and putting them in a management or leadership role and having them drawing off of the true good, positive leadership principles to build teams. It's a skill set that's very hard to find, but it's also something that I think is teachable and isn't taught early on. I think that it's just, you know, we're kind of in the mode of, like I said, you sit down with a high school counselor and maybe you're good at that. And so I need to place you. And so here you go do that, instead of really focusing on, here are the talents and skills that you do have. Here are your weaknesses. Let's play off both sides of that coin and develop you into a person who is able to adjust and adapt and be aware. And you can be a leader without being a manager. You can be a leader in any type of situation if you work on these qualities. And that's why it's important, is because it's not there. And if you get it, then you can really do a lot of things with it. The industry doesn't matter.
You touched on something that I love when we talk about leaders and leadership. Building and growing leaders is human development.
And for whatever reason, that's what's missing. In even in a leadership program, right? Unless you're doing something like driven leadership or similar, a lot of leadership is very mundane, boring, and driven to against that type of principle of human level interaction. Yeah.
I've got one more challenge for you.
Yep.
I want you to think of someone else who has been successful or who is a great leader who you could challenge to come and be a part of this show.
Yep. So I have one in mind, and he is the owner of RX Comfort Heating and Air Conditioning in Grand Rapids. His name is Adam Lyons. He is the guy that has everything we just talked about without any of the training. He's the natural positive leader, compassionate, human connection. He's very busily doing a lot of management training as we speak, and really building out a really neat place here. So I'd love to see him share a little bit more about himself in a format like this. So I think it'd be great.
So this is your challenge, Adam. I want you to become a champion for change. Come on the show and help change your kid's life, because your expertise is needed in the lives of the teams that we work with. So thank you very much for that. Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much, Tiffany. This has been awesome.
It is wonderful to meet you, Paul. Thank you
as well.
so much for joining us.
Really great time. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much for joining Tony and me on this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. We hope you feel motivated to keep growing with us. If you like what we do here at Pure Game, one of the best ways you can support us is by liking and sharing this video with your friends on social media. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel using the button directly below this video on YouTube, and you can donate at our website, www.thepuregame.org. And with that, we'll see you right back here in 2 weeks.